So basically, I am having around 6.7 years of experience in IT sector, and I am into Spring Boot, microservices, SQL, and some part I have done the build process, CI/CD part for Jenkins, and currently I am working with one of the client for ENY. So I am currently in ENY for past around 3 years, around 2.8 years to be precise. So I have worked on 2 clients. This is my third client. So prior to that, I was working on banking financial domain project in CGI, and prior to that, I was working in a startup.
Okay, your voice is little breaking.
Hello. Is it
Yes.
fine?
Yes, it's fine. Okay. All right. So so as part of your current project, okay, what kind of work you do? Is it support or a
No, it's
development
a
project?
development project. So basically, it's like a soft check that we are applying. So basically, when a developer is committing a code, so before actually going for a deployment process, so we are doing all the checks like black duck, checkmark scan, cloud MMR, those scans that is getting stored in a DB after the build process gets completed. So there is a third-party API SCP tool is there. So we are fetching the data from there, and then based upon that black duck checkmark scan, so we are fetching the high vulnerability count and the critical vulnerability count. So based on that, we are setting the status as pass or fail. Okay, so if for black duck there is a criteria like if high severity count is 0 and the critical vulnerability count is 0, then only the status will be passed. This is for one of the app adherence. And in vulnerability scan, for app adherence there is safe 3 and safe 4 which is getting checked for status. And for vulnerability scan, we are checking SCST and SCS scan, which is basically black duck and checkmark scan. And then we are calculating the overall status, like combining the app adherence and vulnerability. If overall status is pass, then the status will be pass. So that logic we are building.
Okay, so basically you are more into vulnerability fix identified by these applications like Veracode, 45, Black Duck.
Yeah. So basically developer who has posted changes, so we will be fetching the data on what changes they have done, and based on that it's like a soft check on the
Okay,
gates.
so these tools identifies the vulnerabilities, right? That you are getting.
Yeah, actually the checkmarks there is a report which gets generated during build process, and we are getting the data by calling that tool. Okay? And then we are, after getting the data, we will just see the counts. So based on that, we will allow or we will not allow. So if everything is fine, there is express lane deployment, and if there is any issue, so it will go to normal lane deployment. Okay. So again, it will go back to developer. Again, he will fix the issues or this check marks, and then again process will start.
Okay, got it. So you use Java and Spring Boot, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Let me quickly go to your resume. Just a moment.
Yeah.
You are also into the cloud, right? You use any cloud technology in your project, or is just that you have out of your own will you have did a certification?
I'm having AWS Amazon certification, but I didn't got much chance. So in my current project, there is a separate team called AKS Cluster team. So
Okay.
where they are storing the data on Microsoft Azure and doing Kubernetes deployment and those things they were doing.
Okay. So have you got any chance to work or do something on the Docker, Kubernetes, OpenShift, anything?
In my actually past client when I was working with HSBC, so there actually I was looking into the bots part. So while logging into Kubernetes, for each microservice there are separate set of bots. So for each microservice there are multiple instances of bots which we are setting it up. So if one of the bot gets when some issue comes, then other bot gets started. So we are checking for all the logs and all the issues there while going through that
Okay.
bot.
So you know, right? Docker commands and Kubernetes commands. You are aware of it.
No, Docker part I haven't used much, but yeah, the process I know. Like first we will be creating a Docker file. So after that, once a Docker image will be created, then Docker file. There is a blueprint of Docker which gets created, and Docker file will process the Docker image, and then there is a process of execution. So
Okay.
basically it contains all the jars, so that if our system is having some other jars and other system is not having, so there will be like a sync with help of Propagation.
All right. Okay. So if I say how much do you rate out of 5 in Java? So what would be your answer?
Around 3.5.
Okay. And in Spring Boot?
So I'm still in a learning stage, so still I'm exploring a lot of things. So around 3, I can say.
Okay. So I'll start with Java. Okay. So we'll start with basics. Like, can you describe the differences between final, finally, and finalize?
Okay. So actually, final is a keyword. So basically, if we are putting final over a class, then no other class can inherit the properties of that class. No other class can extend that class. And if I am putting final over a particular field value, then no other value can access it and change its data. And then comes the finally. So finally is basically
So
used.
access also. So other cannot access the value also if you define final.
Yeah, we can access it, but we can't change the value.
Okay.
And for finally, it is used with try and catch block. So finally block get executed irrespective of whatever the exception coming in the catch block. So try and catch process will happen, then at last finally will be executed anyways. Okay. And then finalize is basically is a low priority thread which is being executed for initiating the process of garbage collection.
Okay. And if a method is defined as final, so what will happen?
So if a method is defined as final, then we can access the method, but think we can't change its properties.
Like?
Like I think if we can't able to overload or we can't able to override the data and make any modification in the current class.
Okay. What is the difference between abstract class and interface in Java?
So basically abstract class contains the set of like fields, then it contains all concrete as well as abstract methods that can be possible to put in the abstract class. And for interface, actually we are putting all the field values which is of public static final type. It should be always public static final type. And for interface, after before Java 8 we were not having concrete methods, but after Java 8 we can have default and static methods. Yeah.
You heard about enum?
Yeah, I've heard about it.
Okay. Can enum be extended?
No, I don't think so. Enum can be extended.
And
we can use the properties of enum. So it's basically for creating constants. So there are multiple ways of using enum. So if we are directly putting up constants over there, then we can get the value by doing enum.getData. And otherwise we can create a key value pair for that, and then we can create a static inner class, and then we can create id for that, get id getter we can put, and then we can get the data corresponding to that enum. So there are two ways to process the
use enum, but why we cannot extend? Any answer on that?
I think for this constructor is getting created only once globally, so we can't create constructor of our own for when we are using enum.
Actually, enum designs are by type it's final, so that is why we cannot extend. Okay. So how does garbage collection prevent any application from going out of memory, like any Java application going out of memory?
Yeah, actually garbage collector will look for all the objects in the heap memory. So whenever an object is getting created, so there are multiple partitions present. So first is like a young gen, then there will be like a old gen. Okay, so whenever any new object is getting created, it will be going into one of the hidden space of the young gen, and then there is like multiple frequencies of sweeping. So there is an algorithm which occurs like a Martin sweep algorithm and concurrent Martin sweep algorithm. So based on that, it just marks all the data, all the objects present in a heap memory, and it will keep on checking like if there is any reference pointing to that particular object or not. So if there are no reference pointing to that object after a particular threshold of time, it will be get cleaned up by using sweep algorithm, and the rest of the object which is being pointed to, it will go to the next survivor space, like from S1 to S2. Then again next frequency it will run, and then few of them will be removed which is not being pointed, and other will be going to S3. So after S3, then if there are multiple frequencies sweeping happened, but still there are few objects where there is reference pointing to, so it will be moving to old gen, so where there will be not frequent sweeping will happen. So
Okay. So basically, it's checking. It will check for reference. If there are no references found, it will garbage collect.
yeah.
All right. Okay, I have a scenario. Okay. If there are two objects, okay, object A and B, and
Okay.
object A has a reference to object B,
Okay.
and object B refer to object A, okay.
Okay.
Apart from that, there is no live reference, okay, to either object A or B. Thus, they are eligible for garbage collection.
I don't think so it will be eligible for garbage collection because each are pointing to each other. So I think it will, there is a concept, I think it will create an island of isolation it will be created. So each will be pointing to one another. So it will store the reference. So I don't think so it will be allowed. I'm not sure on that for you.
Okay, in my opinion, it is eligible for garbage collection because I told you that there is no live reference, okay.
Okay.
An object is eligible for garbage collection if there is no live reference for it, okay,
Okay. Yeah.
as it cannot be accessible from any thread, and cyclic dependency doesn't prevent object from being garbage collected. So that's the reason.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So you know about exception,
Yes.
and what is the base class for error and exception?
Throwable class.
All right. And can you tell me the difference between checked and unchecked exceptions?
Checked exception actually it's checked by the compiler at compile time, and unchecked exception is being checked at runtime. So basically all the exceptions are coming at runtime. So let's suppose arithmetic index exception is coming, index out of bound exception is coming. So those things will be coming at a runtime.
Okay.
So
Okay, great. What's the difference between a class not found exception and no class def found error?
actually for class not found exception, it will search for the reference of the class which is being mapped. So if it is not found there, then class not found exception will come, and no class definition found error. I think it will search for the class definition within the package, and it will search for all its dependencies in the class part. So if those dependencies doesn't exist, then no class definition comes.
You are partially correct. Actually, no class def found error is something it existed at the runtime, but for some reason, class could not turn into a class definition. So no class def. Okay. So what is the exception propagation? You know how the exception propagates?
Actually, the exception propagation starts from the lowermost called method in the stack. So whenever we will see the stack trace, so first will be the main method, then main method will call another method, then another method. So let's suppose there is a 4 series sequence of methods being called. So first D will be executed, then C, then B, then A will be etc. It will check for all the exceptions whether it's handled at that method level or not, and will keep on throwing to the main class. So if the exception has been handled at the D method level, so it will be handled there itself and will be so. But if it is not thrown, let's suppose it is thrown at the main, so D will throw to C, C will throw to B, and B will throw to A, and then it will go to main method. So till main method also, if it is not thrown, so there is a default exception handler which JVM is having, so it will throw default exception handler default exception it will throw JVM.
Okay. And have you ever got a chance to create your own custom exceptions?
Yeah, I've created our own exception. Like we have created our own SCP based exception we have created, and we have created a separate class for that. We have created a constructor, and it will allow a message, and we will be writing super and we will pass that message. So from the class, from particular method, if we want to throw that exception, then we will be writing in the method definition part, and we will be writing if under particular condition, we will be writing throw new, then SCP based exception with that message.
Okay. All right. So, can you give me the difference between throw and throws?
Okay. So throws, it actually works on the method declaration level, and
Right.
throw actually works at the method definition level.
Okay. I have one more scenario. Is running a finally block possible without a catch block?
Yeah, it's possible. Try with finally is possible.
Okay. Alright. So, what is method overloading and overriding? Can you explain?
Yeah. So method overloading is one of the example for compile time polymorphism, where there is a binding of method declaration with method definition at compile time by the compiler. So in case of method overloading, basically the method signature and the definition that the entire part becomes same, but the parameter gets changed. So it can be changed with respect to like number of arguments, then the sequence may get changed, then name of like 3 parts: order, name, and number of arguments. In this way, overloading can happen.
What is overriding?
And yeah, overriding is an example for runtime polymorphism, where there is a combination, where there is a merging of method declaration with method definition, which happens at runtime by JVM. So in case of method overriding, so actually it overrides the particular method, and then all the changes happens. We can change the functionality as per our requirement. So it has the properties of inheritance, and we can do upcasting. So yeah, so basically we are changing the functionality by overriding that method.
Changing the functionality by overriding.
Yeah, because that method will be used.
Why you are going to change your functionality?
Because there is an update.
In which scenario you use the overriding? What is the scenario you use?
Let's suppose there is one WhatsApp feature is there. Okay, so